Welcome to Buying and Beyond, the buying podcast that aims to entertain and inspire. We're Kate and Linz, and together we have over 30 years' experience in retail, including Accessorise and M&S to name a few high street names.
We've been through the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs of fashion retail buying and beyond, and we really want to share this with you.
This is a safe space for us to share our stories, tips and advice, and we have some friends joining us along the way to give us their thoughts and opinions too.
We hope this podcast will help anyone looking to get into the industry, as well as those already enjoying the wild world of retail buying, as many of these stories will hopefully feel very relatable. So grab your drink of choice, sit back and have a giggle with us.
Hello and welcome to episode 10. We've made it.
Episode 10, high five.
Or high 10. We made
You're
it.
so corny.
But we made it. You know, this is our last episode
Uh-huh.
in our first series or season of Buying and Beyond the podcast. So it's all been about becoming a buyer, and we really hope that you've enjoyed the episode so far, that we've brought a bit of lightness and positivity to an otherwise rather stressful week in retail. We feel you. This is a job like no other. It is the definition of work hard and play hard.
Oh, God, absolutely.
And it can be an absolute roller coaster of emotions. I hear ya.
Yeah. Someone was crying as you say that.
It's been a tough week.
It's been a really difficult week.
But we do always say you have to have the lows to experience the highs.
Yeah.
And we are both in agreement, I think. Like, we would hate to have like a consistently level life. Like
Yeah.
mundane.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. You're right.
So if you agree and you like a little bit of fun, you know, however dramatic that fun may be, you love being creative, you're passionate about product, then buying is 100% for you.
Mm-hmm.
But do remember, it does take all sorts, and life would be boring if we were all the same. So yeah, I guess it'd be good to just touch on one of the reasons why we started doing this. And we are really keen to drive out all the negativity and the rudeness that is so often associated with retail, like particularly fashion. Like, there's been so many funny stories that can come out of it.
Yeah,
Out of the trauma.
Trauma.
But there's no reason to treat anyone with such disregard and sometimes aggressive behaviour that you so often hear stories about.
We shouldn't tolerate any of that anymore.
No, and there's so many documentaries these days that have like shone a light on that. But yeah, it still does go on.
Yeah.
And I think we just all need to work that little bit harder to drive that out. I think we need to remember that all roads in business lead to buying, because they are the ones that drive the sales.
Yeah.
And all functions are important.
Yep.
And necessary. But if we're really honest, buying really does drive that success, because there is so much pressure on those teams to get the product, the style, the colour, the trend, the price, the shape, the size, the timing all right, with our help of designers and merchandisers. But I think buyers should be celebrated. Like, they make companies millions, and see a fraction of that. Not even a fraction of that themselves. And I think when buyers are challenged, it should be constructive and supportive. I think ultimately the goal for the entire business is to move forward. So let's do it together.
Yeah, let's join hands and do it together.
Stand in a circle. Hold hands, tell each other how much we love each other. But we really want to end the series on a lighter note.
Yeah.
So we have decided to pull together some of our fave moments in our career so far. And I guess it's a trip down memory lane again for us.
It was such a nostalgic session that when we were brainstorming this, isn't it? Like,
yeah. It's like throwback moments to like what do you really love about it? And I think we both agreed, like, telling people that you work for like such and such a retailer.
Yeah.
Like, people that are like, oh my God, you work in buying, that's so cool.
Yeah, or just like you said, like working for a certain retailer and they're like, oh my God, that's like a household name and you work for them. Wow, you know. I mean, obviously sometimes people think you just work in the shop. which I know we've talked about
or just
before.
buy for a living. Like, you should just go buying things, like
Yeah,
spending
yeah.
money. It's just like, yeah, I mean, I do, but there's a lot more that comes into it than that.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the number of people I've told that I'm a buyer, and they're like, oh my God, that's a dream job. Like, oh my God, absolute dream job. And you're like,
You just shop for a living.
yeah.
That's what people think, don't they?
Yeah.
That's
oh
when
God,
you
you're
want to
like
get the
Rachel.
gloves out.
Oh my God, you're like Rachel from Friends.
Yeah.
I mean, she's such an icon.
She is. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah,
comparison.
exactly. I love that comparison.
Yeah, for sure.
Your first promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Proud moments.
Yeah, definitely. I remember thinking, like, every promotion I was going to buy myself something nice.
So what did you get for your first promotion?
Well, I have no idea how I could afford this, and I still tried to buy myself something nice, like in the most recent promotions. But I wouldn't know if I spent this much money, so I don't know who I was kidding. I went and bought myself a Mulberry bag.
I've made it.
A Mulberry bag.
I love that.
I know.
But that's a bit like, do you remember a little while ago when I talked about my friend? I mean, hers wasn't a promotion like yours of BAA to senior BA. Yeah.
Hers
was a promotion from like BA to buyer, which was that big jump, and buying that silk coat.
Oh,
yeah. Do you remember?
Yeah.
That Burberry silk coat. But I mean, I think you thought you were in the same realm.
I know. I genuinely.
You probably didn't eat.
I don't think I could have afforded to eat anything.
Heat, like.
No. I mean, maybe
that's why you threw up in it. Cause
oh, maybe. You're going to bring that up?
Because you probably hadn't eaten all week, and then you went out for a few drinks.
I can't believe I did that. And then had to go into the Mulberry shop and ask them how I could clean vomit off my bag. That was a low-mo. Well, it's back to work hard, play hard though, right?
So gross.
Yeah, so gross.
I don't know if I've bought myself anything each time I've been promoted. I feel like I've missed out. I feel like maybe I owe myself lots of gifts. That would have made it much easier, actually. Or, we talked about like climbing the ladder and having to like, it wasn't as straightforward as like BA, AB, buyer.
Yeah.
And it was constant interview for each level.
Yeah.
I should have cottoned on earlier to the rewarding myself.
To treat yourself, yeah.
For each time. What else do we have? Making friends for life.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really, really important one. I think you do meet some of your best friends.
Yeah.
And
because you go through so much together. Like, there's a lot of emotion.
Definitely. I mean, it's not like any other relationship. Like, I've been at my most vulnerable, I think. And I think some of my best friends outside of work haven't seen me cry as much as anyone.
My work friends, yeah. Totally. You become a little family. I think there's teams I've worked on where they have become a little family, to be honest. It's like you've got each other's backs. There's so many challenging situations thrown at you.
So many late nights.
Yeah.
You're in the thick of it. It's absolute bonding time.
I remember one time it was like a really, really, really small department, and it was just me, a buyer and a merchandiser, and I think I must have had one BMA and that was it. And I remember, like, we got chucked out of the office. It was the night before sign-off, it must have been the night before sign-off. And we were trying to desperately finish this pack. I sort of always put, like, way too much in my packs than I need to, because I'm just quite thorough, like, want to go over every eventuality, which sometimes can be good, but sometimes can be a bit, like, too much.
You want to be prepared for anything.
And when you're a bit junior as well, you do tend to do that, because you don't know what you can leave out and what you can put in,
and you overcompensate sometimes.
Yeah,
as well.
Definitely. But anyways, we got chucked out of the office, so we went to his house, and I'm like sat at his kitchen table, and it must have been about 11:30 at night, and his wife came down in her pajamas, and she was just like, "I've made up the spare room."
Oh, bless
her. And it's just like we were so dedicated to getting this, having an amazing sign off, and like we were just so so focused and passionate about what we were doing, and we wanted to show, like, prove that we could do a really good job. And it's just like, it's such a,
I love that.
You
would share experiences that no one else understands.
Yeah,
don't you?
Exactly. So I think you're right. They do become your family, and they become your friends for life. And
also, you're in the office so often, like you said, like you are working such long hours, you know, you spend, I'm pretty sure I said this to my husband the other day, like you spend 90% of your time with work colleagues, and he was like, that's really over-egging it, like that's a huge exaggeration. And I'm like, nah, not if you work in buying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you get to know each other really, really well. You don't have time to socialise with friends outside of work, and so
You're making it sound really bleak.
Oh no,
it's
not
not all
it's
the
not
time.
Bleak all the time. No, not bleak at all. But I was just gonna say, so like some of the best times you have can be like your socials that you have, because like you're
letting off steam.
Yeah. And they used to throw amazing
parties.
My god,
where we worked together, they used to throw amazing
They
Christmas
were incredible.
parties. They'd
So
hire like
incredible.
an art agency or something, sorry, not an art agency. They'd hire a events agency.
Yeah.
Do you remember that
And the
one
themes,
we had? Yeah.
The themes were incredible, and it would be a free bar, and we just drink the bar dry. I mean, this is not supposed to descend into like stories of where we've just clearly drunk too much and can't handle our liquor.
We've got so many of those.
But I do remember our first Christmas party together and being so overexcited, and we were like two of the last ones like going to the bar. I remember being so excited and like running up to you and just slipping over and absolutely stacking it backwards and stacking our head on the floor.
That was
and then jumping up being like, right, should we do a tequila shot? And they were like, oh, we've got no tequila left, and we were like, oh, and I think we ran through a few things, and literally like the bar had been drunk dry.
People just get so on it, don't they?
So
like, because it's, like we say, it's like such a high pressure job. Like you just that release is so important to people. Do you remember when we had that Christmas party and it was a Narnia theme?
I thought you were going to say Narnia. I was just going to say, do you mean the Narnia theme?
Do you mean the Narnia?
That was probably one of the most standout ones in my mind.
Me too.
When you arrived and it was like canapes and like this, and there was like a fire lit, and it was like kind of all mahogany.
Yeah.
Felt like really sophisticated. And then
we didn't know it was Narnia.
At that point we're like, oh, this is nice, like, you know, a bit of jazz playing or whatever. No one had noticed the ginormous wardrobe in the corner. And then they opened the doors to the wardrobe, and you had to climb through the wardrobe and go through enchanted forest. So you went through that little like walkway, didn't you, with like the trees hanging down, and then you opened up into this amazing space that was just white everywhere, and it was filled with fake snow.
And the sleigh.
And there's a sleigh, and Aslan, and there was the White Witch. Oh my god, it was...
And all the White Russians lined up on the bar.
Oh my god, it was so much
That was
fun.
Amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I genuinely don't think I've been to a Christmas party like that.
I don't think they topped it. I think every year there was a great theme.
Yeah.
But that was absolute.
But they just like they raised the bar too high for themselves, didn't they? They went in really high.
There was no beating that. That was so good.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think like, okay, so I'm just gonna touch on it one more time about talking about being really like not handling my liquor, but it was just a funny story I have to share. There was this like awful moment where I turned up so hungover, like I swear I like crawled in on the floor or something. I had to go in because we just called some supplier in because they had basically we'd had to have a product recall. There was a problem with their product, and so as the buyer I had to go in and with the product tech and the head of and we were giving them a really like hard time, and particularly like the tech team, like this was a product that actually, you know, had real consequences. And so it was quite, you know, it was a big situation. It wasn't just like a
slap on the wrist. It was
it was like almost like, you know, a chair where the like the leg fell off, and therefore you know someone could have broken a leg, kind of a level. And I remember the head of product tech was giving them such a hard time. Like they just got off a red-eye flight, they said, and they were exhausted. They were like, you know, as soon as we knew about this, we've just got back from the factory in China, we've come straight in, and they looked exhausted, bless them. But they stayed really strong, and I was really impressed with them. But as we walked out, the head of tech was just like, red-eye Maya. They were hungover. They stank of booze. And I was like, oh good God, that was me. I was like,
shit.
hold your breath. don't look at her, breathe the other way. I felt so bad that she'd gone in on them so hard because she was just like, she thought they were lying and that they'd just come from a big boozy night.
Oh no!
I felt so bad.
How shameful. Oh gosh.
But yeah, that was me. Oh, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Being told you're going on your first Far East trip.
Oh my God, that was a big one for me. I just remember always wanting that so badly, you know,
traveling.
like, because
Yeah.
you just knew that was the next step for your development. Like, nothing makes more sense than going on a trip and coming back, and just like, it's just such
It's exciting and things start to fit into place.
Yeah. So I got my first break because my buyer was going to be on mat leave when the next trip was coming round. Or no, I think she was just about to go on mat leave, so she would have been really heavily pregnant, so she couldn't fly. And she fought for me to go in her place, and I was just like, this is amazing. I'm so grateful, you know, thank you so much. Put me forward. She's like, yeah, I think you really deserve it. You need to go. Da, 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 da.
Oh, that's such a nice feeling.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was really,
and we're
really
going to have so much to talk about, I think, with
on trips.
Yeah.
That is definitely an
many
episode.
A topic.
Yeah. No, but I remember thinking, this is fantastic. And it really was like the turning point for me with my development. Like, it just accelerates it so much more.
Yeah, it's things like having your first trips and first press events and first trade shows.
Yeah.
All of those things. Like the first of everything's a super exciting.
Yeah, trade shows. I didn't do too many trade shows in my early career because we did so much own brand development, and so we wouldn't really be looking for brands. But I remember when I moved to another company and that was a bit more branded, and then we'd start going to Spring Fair and Autumn Fair and Maison and Top Drawer and some of the other overseas shows, which were really, really, really cool.
First supplier appointments as well.
Yeah, just going with your buyer to a meeting with them and watching them interact with the supplier.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, okay, that's how we do it. You know,
dressing up all nice. And
oh,
hello, introducing yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Love all
like
of that.
It is like being on Dragon's Den though when you go to your suppliers sometimes, especially in known brand development, because they are presenting back all their development to you, and you're sat there with all your thoughts and questions. And I remember one supplier I used to work with in one company, they just weren't hitting it. They just weren't following the brief very well, and it was quite hard to watch, to be honest with you. But my bar used to give them such a hard time when we went there, and I think that's when I started to feel a bit like you need to help people a bit more. You need
give them a bit more direction.
Give them a bit more direction.
Otherwise,
give
it's
them
a waste of time for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, but then I get it. Like, you don't have time really to handhold. Like, you know, when managing suppliers can be difficult, as difficult as managing people. You know, sometimes. So there's only so much you can do, but yeah, again, let's make sure we're all being constructive and giving constructive feedback and behaviour and stuff like that. But it was such an interesting meeting.
I guess, like, just generally working with suppliers, like, that can be a really favourite moment, can't it? You can meet so many interesting people.
Oh yeah.
And like, I guess that ties in a little bit with like trips, is like understanding manufacturing process. Like, wow, like speaking with suppliers, whether they're branded or own brand, and just understanding like their story and how they got started and how they've ended up where they are, and forming those relationships as well. And particularly, I remember I had one supplier who was UK based, but I used to meet them out in the Far East, and we did so much product development and design development. Absolutely adored working with them because it was just always so ideas based. Yeah,
exactly. And I think I definitely I definitely related to a lot more suppliers like that were a lot more ideas based, because you have a lot more in common as well. Like, you can sit in a hotel lobby and chat for hours about, like, I don't know, outdoor furniture or something like that. Like, it is a really like emotive subject for you, passionate subject for you. And if they're like that too, then it just makes it so much easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that is exactly it. One of the key things is like sharing that passion with people and living and breathing what we do and being with like-minded people that share the same ideas and concepts and enjoy the same things that you do.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's also the supplier perks. And I think as long as you're just really clear with the parameters in which you indulge in those, then I think that they're okay, you know? We are not talking about anything like, I'm sure something came out. What was it?
Oh, yeah, on Life of a Buyer, there's all those like, I got my kitchen paid for.
Yeah, insane stories like that. Like, I am not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about, going to a press show or
going for dinner.
Yeah, being taken for a nice dinner. Like, when you're out. But I don't think that applies so much, because often you'd find if you go to visit them, they take you out. But if they come to visit you, you take them out.
Yeah, exactly.
It balances out. And one of the things I think we feel so passionate about at the moment as well is sustainability.
Yeah, 100%.
We've talked so much about that, and being able to be a driver of that.
Yeah.
That's really exciting, isn't
especially an own brand, because you can have handle on all the packaging, you can have a handle on the product development. You can also then go out and educate the factory yourself into more sustainable manufacturing processes, or, you know, mainly material decisions that they can make. I think that the more we do this as buyers, that's how we're going to make a change. And if the more we put our foot down and say, no, we're not going to use that, and we are going to pay that just that little bit more, it will drive the price down, and factories will also just cotton on, because they're so receptive, aren't they?
Yeah, but it does need to often be retailers driving it versus suppliers, because they don't want to lose the business.
No.
So they don't want to be too risky, and they will, if you push for something or ask for something, they will follow. I actually saw something just the other day about Pandora and how they have now made a stance that they are only going to use 100% recycled materials.
Interesting.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge step. I think they're going to cut their carbon emissions by 52%.
Amazing.
But don't quote me on that, because I like to say numbers confidently, because I'm a buyer.
I love it. That's a huge step forward, isn't it?
That's
really amazing.
And it's exciting. And like, I think one of the other things we said was about setting the strategy.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
one of our favourite things and proudest
Definitely.
moments is like being able to really lead from the front and create that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember when I was first set my own strategy, and it's quite daunting, you know. Oh God, what do I want this range to be?
This is my vision for my areas.
This is my vision. Does this align? Is this going to be good enough? Is this going to be commercial enough? Is this going to be unique enough at the same time? And can I actually do this?
Yeah.
Like,
and then you back
is this
it and
possible?
like, really backing something, and particularly like we've talked about that as well, when sometimes like your merchandiser will be like nervous, maybe because they are much more watching the numbers, and there are just generalisation, but much more like realistic / pessimistic with the numbers. And often as a buyer you can be much more ambitious and pie in the sky, but really backing something,
and it working,
and
you're like, I told you so.
God, having your successful product range is like your first sellout, or like seeing people wearing something that you've designed and created and put together, or like seeing the press go wild for something.
It's that, especially when you know the product evolution. Like, you've been in a factory, you've product developed something. You know, you sit in there with the supplier negotiating the price, and then you got it into your range. Everyone's loved it, the sign off, and then really backed it, and then you've got all your press coverage on it. It's in the lookbook, and it's a winner. Yeah,
and when it's on a bestseller. And it's on that bestseller rack.
Yeah, company number one,
week in, week out, and you're just like, yeah, like, it's so good and so.
That's such a good buzz. It's such a
Isn't
good buzz.
It?
Yeah,
like that. I'd say that's probably one of my top favourite moments, is just feeling like, wow.
And the next one would be top favourite moments of you know, being quite proud, is when you've nurtured a buyer from BMA to buyer, and then they've had that same success too.
Seeing their progression.
Yeah, and then them feeling that feeling, like that is like, that's great. Like,
it's a bit like the analogy of like it's great to get a gift, but to give a gift can feel even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Oh, well, so many favourite moments. I just think, wow. That's it for the season, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ending on a high with our favourite moments and some of the ridiculous things that we have faced in our jobs.
Yes, definitely.
And there is so much more to come.
I think we're saving a lot of stories, aren't we, for next season
We've
too?
still got a lot more to come. I think it's important for us to end on reasons why we love our jobs in retail buying. So let's start with one, seeing the product lifestyle. So as we said, like the excitement of that new idea brewing, working with your team to bring the idea to life, like launching it with bells and whistles, seeing the success in sales and joy it brings to customers, and then analysing like how and why it was such a success, and then figuring out how to do it all over again, like same but different. Trends.
Oh, yes.
Just being completely like absorbed by it all.
And setting them as well.
Yeah, being at the forefront of new and exciting creativity, products and projects. Yeah, being surrounded all day, every day, mostly with people that share the same passion. And that inspires you and keeps you motivated. I've always said I could never work in a room that was just like plain white with no decoration and no product. That's also, on a side note, what frustrates me so much sometimes when it's all like having a tidy Friday clear desk policy.
Oh, God.
I'm so uninspired by a clear desk.
Yeah, I mean, when I moved from a retailer that would rack up all the product in the hallway and we'd have like, you know, things hanging around our desks, to a company where they didn't have any product at all in the building.
I've had that too. Hot desking.
Like,
clear desk policy. Like, I forget what I'm supposed to be doing because I might need something that's on my desk to remind me that I need to email about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't feel as inspired because I'm not seeing something thinking, oh, maybe we should do that in blue. You know, like it doesn't spark my creativity.
No, not at all.
So I love being surrounded by product and prints and 3, travel. That's one of our favourite things as well.
Travel, again, I think we're going to touch on in a lot more detail in the next season. But
discovering new products.
What we've been able to do is been, I'm actually truly grateful that I've been able to have all those experiences. But I've also really proud of myself because I've put myself out there and gone for it and got those opportunities to travel. So, you know, it's a bit of both really, isn't it? You know, as we say all the time, you have to drive your own development and grab these opportunities by the balls and run with them.
Do your research, keep your eyes and ears open. But the opportunity to be able to discover new products, to go sourcing new fabrics, materials, and I think we mentioned this as well, but like visiting factories to learn about the manufacturing and the new processes, and as we said, like driving a more sustainable agenda. Like top 3 things, but they were quite wordy. There's a lot to say about it.
Absolutely.
So thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for sticking with us. Yeah,
sticking with us. We've really enjoyed recording these episodes. And I think we can both agree we've learned so much along the way.
Yeah.
We hope you guys have too. I think we've said it countless times, but we are all about supporting and empowering. And our aim has been to share an insight into the industry, but also to share how we want to make a difference and drive more positivity into what is currently like a pretty challenging retail landscape, let's face it. For more content, please follow us on Instagram at Buying and Beyond and visit our website, www.buyingandbeyond.com. We have so many more exciting launches planned for this year, as well as Series 2 and Series 3 and more. So follow us and register your interest to be the first to know. We'd also love your feedback. Like, do you agree or disagree with our topics and our points of view? Do you want to join us? We can debate these topics and or others. If there is anything we haven't covered that you'd love to hear more about too, feel free to drop us a message. We would absolutely love to hear from you. And don't forget to send us any of your hilarious or cringeworthy stories for a bit.
They're the best ones.
They are, aren't they? A bit of retail therapy for everyone. And if you've enjoyed listening to our first series in our podcast, please, 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 please like and subscribe and leave a review. And if you have already, then thank you.
Thank you so much for your support.
Yes. And that's us.
That's
so
us.
We're signing off for this series on a positive and happy note. We're already planning and plotting series 2, and we are so excited.
So excited.
We'll see you then. Bye.
See you then.